to Lauren Reed Color. Thanks for joining me today. In today's video, I'm going to be explaining my process for finding inspiration images on Pinterest. I'll also explain how to create a palette using the Adobe Color website and how I take that palette and apply it to a coloring page. So I just want to show you the page that I'm going to be using for this demonstration, and it is this Dragonite page. As you can see, it's mostly colored, and I used the exact process that I'm going to show you in this video. I just want to note that this video is a update on a series of videos that I did a few months ago. That series of videos explained how I use the Dopely website to do much of what I'm going to be showing you today. The first video is how to use Dopely. The second video is how I find inspiration images and how I map out a page. And the third video is how I apply the colors to an actual page. I strongly recommend going through those three videos because you might find them helpful. Anyway, I just want to also say that the reason I am doing this video is because Dopely has changed their website slightly. They seem to be moving in the direction of a paid subscription, and some of the tools that I used before are no longer available for free, and so I was looking for alternatives, and the alternative that I found is Adobe. So I'm going to first start this video by showing you how I find inspiration images. This video is filmed on my iPad, and so I'm going to switch over to that now. As I said earlier, I use Pinterest to find inspiration images. I have the app on my iPad. I open it up and then I consider what I am going to put into the search engine. So I look at the page that I'm going to color, and in this case it is the Dragonite that I'm coloring in Dragonspell by Joseph Katzenbang. The page has a dragon knight, it has a sword, it has some branches. So I put into the search engine Dragonite and the word illustration, and I scroll through the results that Pinterest gives me. I'm given numerous different options, so different colors, different imagery, some with a knight, some with a dragon, some with a knight and a dragon. I choose one that appeals to me, and I can scroll down even further through additional results that are related to this one. And anything that catches my eye or that I think will look good on the page, I save to my Pinterest board. So for example, I wanted, for this particular image, I wanted one that actually had a knight wearing armor in the image. I didn't just want one that had a dragon, because there's no dragon in the actual coloring page. And so once as I said, once I have an image that appeals to me, I save it to my own existing Pinterest boards. I have several boards that I can choose from, but the one that I use for coloring inspiration images is the Coloring Catalysts board. And even inside that board, I have additional subsections that I use, and one of them is for dragons. So I save that particular image in my dragons board, and then I have it available to me. The image that I actually chose for this page is the image with the dragon and the knight and the teal background, and that is what I have chosen to apply to the current page that I'm working on. And now I'm going to explain to you how I put this image into Adobe Color to create a palette for it that I can then use on my coloring book. So that's next. Now that I have an inspiration image from Pinterest, I'm going to show you how I use that image to create a palette that I can use in my coloring book. For this purpose, I am using Adobe Color. So I go to Adobe Color in Google and I click on the link. The first page that comes up is a page where you can generate your own color palette based on whatever colors you are interested in using. So for example, let's say I want to use purples or greens, and these colors can be moved around and so on and so forth. This is not something that we're going to be using now. Rather, we want to extract the colors from an image that we have already chosen. And for this purpose, we need to click on Adobe Color here in the top left hand corner, and you are given more options. The option that we are interested in is extract themes and gradients. So if we click on that, we get a new screen where we can drag and drop a file from our computer or select a file. So I am selecting a file and I am going to select this. Okay, so this is the image that I found on Pinterest, and as you can see, it immediately gives me a possible color palette. Also on the left hand side, I have other possible palettes that I can choose from based on mood. So for example, if I want bright, I can get a different color palette, muted, deep, dark, or none. I've quickly realized that none doesn't do anything. Anyway, say for example I decide that muted is the one I like the best, but I'm not really a fan of all of these colors. I like, say, 3 of the 5 colors, and 2 others I would like to change. So I can take this color that I want to change, and I can move it around on the screen and select any other color that I am interested in. So I think that this particular teal color is a bit too dark, and I want one that is slightly lighter. So I can move the color picker around and choose that color. Say for example, I also don't like this creamy beige color, and I would want it to be a bit more brown. So again, I can take this color picker and hover over a different color, and it can be added to my palette. Once I am satisfied with the colors that I've chosen, I can save this to my library. So here on the right hand side, I have an option to save to library. You can create as many libraries as you like, but in order to do this, you have to be signed in to Adobe Color. You can sign in with Google. So here we go, it's saved to my library, and then I click save and it will be there. In order to access palettes that are in my library, I go to this option here in the top menu. I click libraries and my libraries appear. As you can see, I have 3 palettes in this particular library. I have my Dragonite palette, I have a palette that I have chosen for a different page, and I have a palette that I have saved from a different user. So if you go to the Explore option, you will find palettes by other users that you can save to your library. All you have to do is click on it and say add to library, and it will be added. Okay, so now let's go back. We can go back to my libraries, and then it will appear here. Now another option that you have available in Adobe Color is to change the colors that you see here. Edit this theme. Right, so here we are back at this color wheel, okay, and we have our chosen colors. Now here, if you click on the change tint option, you can see the gradient. This gradient is not as good as the gradient that Dopely offers. Dopely offers a much more expansive number of choices based on tints, tones, and shades, which I will show you in a moment. But there is the option in Adobe Color of also changing your tints and tones, okay, for any color that you wish. All right, all of them have this option, okay. And so you can even create secondary palettes based on your primary palette. Okay, now once I have created my palette using Adobe Color, I can take a screenshot, I can even download it. You can download it as a JPEG file as well and use it to start choosing colors. Now I'm going to show you how I choose my colors. Unfortunately, Adobe does not have, as I said, as advanced an option of creating tints, tones, and shades as Dopely, so I am still using the Dopely website for that. So let's go to Dopely. Okay, now here in the Dopely website, one moment, we'll let it load. Here you have the option of more tools. When you click more tools, you do have the same option as Adobe Color to extract colors and create a palette from an image. The problem now is that the first one you create is free, if you sign up, and if you don't sign up, then it doesn't allow you to create the palette. Also, you're only allowed to create one palette per month for free. After that, you have to sign up for their subscription service. So that is why I've moved over to Adobe Color. But one of the tools that is still available free of charge is to generate tints and shades from the palette. So here in Adobe, I can copy the hex code and I can put it into Adobe Toner, and I will get the shades, which is the base color plus black. I'll get the tone, which is the base color plus gray, and I'll get the tint, which is the base color plus white. And then I can take a screenshot of this and compare it to my own pencil swatches to choose pencils. This is what we're going to do next. Now that you've seen how I find inspiration images using Pinterest, how I create a palette using that inspiration image in Adobe Color, and how I create tints, tones, and shades for those colors from the palette in Dopely, I'm going to show you how I match the tints, tones, and shades to my own pencil swatches to choose pencils, and then I'll show you how I apply it to the page. So let's first start by matching the pencils to my own swatches. For this particular page, I decided to use Derwent Lightfast pencils and Caran d'Ache Luminance. So one moment, here I have my swatch book. Hold on, it's upside down. Let's go to my swatches for Luminance and Caran d'Ache. Now, I find that these two sets of pencils work really lovely together, and they don't have that many shades in common. So they are perfect for finding the different tints, tones, and shades that the Dopely website has given us. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to use this color. I can match it to my Derwent Lightfast, and I see that the closest matching color is mallard green. Okay, or I can match it to my Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, and I see that the closest match here is actually malachite green, although the malachite green here on the Caran d'Ache Luminance and on the Derwent Lightfast are not exactly the same. The malachite green is actually darker. Okay, so that's what I do. I just go, let me bring back the palette. I just go through all of these colors, match them to the colors that I have, and then I take out the pencils. So that is what I've done. I've gone through that entire palette created by Adobe Color. I have created the tints, tones, and shades for each color in the Dopely website. I have matched my swatches to the tints, tones, and shades created, and then I have taken out the pencils so that I can use them on my page. So let me show you what I do next with the pencils. The next step, after I have matched my swatches to the palette created in Adobe Color, and after taking out all of the pencils, is to take these pencils and re-swatch them in my notebook so that I have them available in front of me all the time, okay? And I can choose which pencils that I want to use on the different parts of the page. Now, I don't necessarily have to use these exact combinations. I can mix and match. I can use a pencil from here and a pencil from here together, or a pencil from here and a pencil from here together, and so on. I like to swatch them out so that I have that option. And of course, as you can see, each one of these sections matches a section in the palette that I created on Adobe Color. So hold on one second. So as you can see, I have the cobalt aquamarine, I have the, cobalt turquoise, aquamarine, beige sienna, poppy red, and crimson red. Okay, so those swatches match the swatches created on the palette in Adobe Color. And then I just take these pencils and I apply them to the page. The next step is to apply this color palette to the actual page. The first thing I did was take alcohol markers that matched some of these colors, okay, and put down a base layer. So this is the teal color, this is the beigey brownie color, this is the brownish reddish color, and I used alcohol markers to do that first, and then I started to shade with pencils on top. And the first thing I needed to do was to color this knight. So what I decided to do was to choose between these two colors because I wanted my knight to be teal, and that is based on the original image that I got from Pinterest. Now on this Pinterest image, the knight is actually in this iron armor, but I felt that that was too dark for the page that I was working on. I didn't want it to be so dark, and therefore I decided instead to use the teal colors for the armor. All right, so what I did was I went to my swatches and I took out the pencils for the cobalt turquoise because I felt that this one was more suitable. Okay, so as you can see, I have my light aqua, I have malachite green, I have the dark turquoise and the cyan blue, and then I just apply them to the page. Now, Joseph Katzenbang gives us a lot of shading. He indicates on the image where you put the pencils. So that's exactly what I did. Let me show you. So let's start with this, piece of armor over his leg. All right, so as you can see, we have here the shaded areas, and I take my darkest color and I put it down in the shadow areas, okay, making sure to leave a highlight, okay, because we're going to put other colors in here as well. So I put this color in all of these areas that Joseph gave us. I also add some of my own shading, so I know that this part of the armor is casting a shadow on that part, and so I just put a line there and I just put this color in, okay? Right, just exactly where Joseph has given us the shading and maybe a couple of other areas. Okay, right, so now I've got my darkest color. Now I'm going to go in with my next darkest color, which is the dark turquoise. And keep in mind, these are all the pencils that I swatched out based on the color palette that I created. So with the dark turquoise, I just go over the dark cyan and a little bit out, okay? Right, I blend them together. One of the most fabulous things about the Lightfast and the Derwent Lightfast and the Carinda Ash luminance is that they work so well together because they are very similar in their composition. The pencils are quite waxy. They blend fantastically. They work really lovely together. Okay, right, so you see I'm going out. Not too far because I want my highlight. Okay, now what I'm going to do is take the light aqua and I'm going to blend all of these colors together, and I will of course also go into the highlight area. Okay, as you can see, blending really fantastically together these colors. Right. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and deepen up my shadows. So back with the dark cyan, just to deepen up the darkest areas. By doing this, you create the shine that you see. It creates this shine that you see. Okay. It's the contrast between the dark and the light colors that makes it shine. Okay, you can also fix up areas that you want fixed up. Okay, now, all right, I'm going to go in with the malachite green and just put this color a little bit into the highlight area, not a lot. Okay. Right. Just a tad, not a lot. And I can even blend it out a bit with the white. I'm not going to the darkest shadow areas with this color again because I don't want to mute it anymore. I want it to shine. Okay, but you can blend out these colors together into the highlight. Okay, if you feel that you want to put a little bit more of the dark turquoise, you can also do that. You play with it, but these are the colors that we chose, and these are the colors that we have put down on the page to get the look that we wanted. All right. Yep. That's it. Okay. And I did that for all of the different elements on this page. So these colors I used on the night. Okay, let me show you the colors that I used on the other elements. So I used, for the branches, I used the dark chocolate, the autumn brown, and the terracotta. For the sword, I used the chocolate, the brown ochre, this was brown ochre 50%, and brown ochre 10% on the sword. And I am also going to be using these aquamarine colors here on the background. So I want to smooth out my background. Right now it's an alcohol background, but I need to add in some shading and so on, and I will be using these colors. Okay, so yeah, that is my process for choosing inspiration images, creating a palette based on an image, and then applying that palette to the page. There are lots of different sources that I use for palettes. One of the other videos, yes, that I mentioned earlier, explains all of the different sources that I use for finding inspiration images and palettes. So I use Pinterest, I use the modern and traditional colors of Japan palette books, I use Naomi Kuno's practical color combinations, I use Sarah Renee Clark's color cubes, and so on. And sometimes when I see a beautiful palette somewhere else, for example, the DMC website, that's a website for palettes for embroidery and cross stitch, I use those as well. Any place that I find palettes that I find appealing, I use. There are lots of different resources that are out there. Anyway, thank you so much everyone for joining me. I hope that you found this video helpful and that you create beautiful coloring pages using these tools. I hope to see you soon for future videos. Bye for now.